Hey guys, what is up? Welcome. Thank you for being here. I'm Lily Newhouse. I am a mindset manifestation coach, personal development junkie, and today I want to talk about mental health, mental illness, my history with mental illness, and what that looks like, what it looks like to grow up with depression and mental health issues, and really kind of talking about just a vulnerable conversation about this, what this really looks like. And I think it's important to be vulnerable so that we can create spaces for people to be safe, to be vulnerable. So that's my aim here, is to create a space where you feel safe to be vulnerable as well, where you feel seen and validated and heard, and not feel alone. So thank you so much for being here. If you're jumping on, say hello. Hi, Amy. I love you. Hello, hello. Let me know if you can hear me and see me okay, if everything sounds good.
People to be safe, to be
okay. I think so. I think we're good. But let me know if you don't mind. So let's see. Got it. Just setting this up, making sure this is all good. Okay, cool. Awesome. So today I really want to talk about mental illness and what that looks like. Oh, hey, Jamin, thank you. Oh my gosh, Katie, hi. It's so good to see you. Hello, hello, hello. Thank you for being on. Hi, Sarah. Oh my gosh, you guys are making my day. Thank you for being here. I would love to know how you're doing. Let me know on a scale of 1 to 10 or with your words how you're doing today. So I guess I want to start just by talking about a little bit about my history as a child with mental illness. I think that I don't hear a lot of people talk about this, and I think it's important. It's an important part of my story, and it's an important part of what happens to people who struggle with mental illness, because we're born with it. It's not something that is, always triggered. It's something that is a part of our brain, a part of our brain chemistry. So, you'll hear people in the trans community saying things like, I knew I was born in the wrong body from the time I was very young, and things like that. And I knew there was something wrong with me from the time I was very young. From the time I was probably 5, 6 years old. I was living, my parents were a part of a religious community. And so I believed in God. And I remember wondering, why was I born wrong? Like, if God made me, what happened? Why was I born like this? Like, there's something wrong. I'm wrong. And I thought it was my fault for being that way. And just kind of the depression and was already there. My mom, when I was 6 years old, I told her I believed I was going to hell. I felt like there was some dark side of me that was not okay. It wasn't acceptable. It wasn't, all light and love. It was, just a dark place that my mind would go to. And I thought there was something bad or wrong about it. And I saw all the other kids around me acting normal and feeling normal, and being what everyone in the church should be as little perfect children. And I didn't know what was wrong with me, but I started hating myself because I thought I was bad or different, or, differently bad. And I think it took me a long time to realize that this trauma kind of was the catalyst for a lot of the limiting beliefs that I have about myself now. A lot of the things that I struggle with are rooted in being so young and having these core beliefs. You know, when you're young, you don't know what's true or not. All you know is the environment you're in and what people tell you. So I wonder, you know, if any of you have dealt with mental illness as children, if that resonates at all. I think that a lot of times mental illness becomes really dangerous and prominent when kids start to go through puberty. When we hit that age, 13, 14, 15, 16, mental illness shit hits the fan for a lot of people. That's the time when a lot of diagnoses are made, when a lot of people end up in psych hospitals. Sarah says, absolutely, yeah. It's interesting to hear because I've never really asked anybody else about that. So I'm interested in your feedback and I appreciate your feedback. I've never really talked about it ever. So I don't know if other people can relate or not, but I know that that's, you know, my truth and my experience around it. Yeah. Wow. Amy. Okay. So you've struggled with it since you can remember. Yeah. That's so interesting because I really haven't heard people talk about the thoughts they had as children around their mental illness. So I think it's something that feels important to me to talk about. And in fact, when I wanted to do this video, this stream today, I didn't want to do just another training on this or that. I was like, I asked myself, what feels the most important to talk about? And this was the obvious answer to me, was mental health, mental illness. I feel that it's really important to normalize it, to validate it, to help people feel seen and understood and unashamed about the fact that there's something, you know, about something wrong with them. They're not good enough. A lot of times mental illness can be conflated with personality, and in a way that physical illness never is, right? So we can often think things are our fault when it's not that simple. Yeah, Sarah says, I can relate, but my comment would be very long if I were to elaborate on that. Go ahead. If you would like to, I would love to hear your sharing because I'd love for this to be an interactive stream where you guys can share as well about your experience. I didn't want it to be the energy of a training. I'm not teaching you how to do something. I'm just talking about my experience and hoping that creates an impact. So that's kind of where I was coming from with this today. Wanting to talk also about suicidality. So just as a trigger warning, I'm going to talk about some of that stuff right now, suicide attempts, stuff like that. So for me, when I was 16, I went away to boarding school, and that's when my depression really hit me hard. And I remember I had these really fake friends that I had made. It was 10th grade, you know, they were all into designer shit. And oh, thank you, Jamin, so much. Oh my gosh, you're the best. Thank you. I remember having these really fake, you know, 16-year-old friends, and they would tell me like, stop acting so down. Like, why can't you just act happier? Like, we're sick of hearing this. And so that like even more kind of shamed me into like being alone with this depression and in this dangerous space, and being away from home, not having my family around, to see what was happening and how my mental illness was spiraling, or how my mental health was spiraling. And I remember, I had a roommate who was always in the room. And so, and I was such, was in so much emotional pain that I would cry a lot. And I remember I would go down to the basement, like boiler room in the dorm, and just cry there because there was nowhere to go where was alone. And I didn't know what to do with it or how to get help. So I think, I didn't know how to ask for help. I also didn't know what the fuck I needed. Like, what do you even ask for? How do you say, like, I'm not okay, help me? What does that even mean to someone? So I think that, at the time as it got really bad, I was in the dorm. There was another girl in the room, and I was sitting on her top bunk, and she had some kind of medicine or pills, or I don't even know if it was like a supplement. I don't even know what it was, but it was up there on her dresser. And I just took it, and I took, like, I don't know how much of the bottle, a lot of it. And I don't even think it was harmful. I don't think that I could have died from it. I just didn't know what else to do. So that was when kind of everything, like, that was the catalyst for me getting help at the time. For the first time getting on medication, went home to live at home for, again, and go to school locally. And I just, started to get some help. I got on psych meds. At the time, they diagnosed me with depression, which is still one of my diagnoses, as well as rapid cycling bipolar, which was figured out much later. And that's kind of another thing, is if you're incorrectly diagnosed, then sometimes they medicate you incorrectly, and it can trigger other mental health episodes. So that also is potentially something that happened to me as well, just with them not recognizing how to diagnose me and properly medicate it. I think that's another thing that's not really talked about, is the journey of finding meds that will help. Can be a really challenging journey to start medication and to wait for the process for it to kick in, and to see what the side effects are, and to figure out if it is actually working and how you feel. And then if it's not working, then it's another month for another one to kick in. It's hard, Sarah says, growing up feeling like the outsider, broken kid. Yeah, led me to finding the broken kids crowd. I was nothing like them, but I was broken too, so I stayed until I was trapped in a horrible spot for years. 0 out of 10, do not recommend. Yeah. I think that that really resonates for me with my experience, thinking, like, kind of, the friends that I could hang out with were the ones who were also shamed for something being wrong with them, who turned out to also have mental health struggles and not have anything, wrong with them at all. Right. So yeah, I can 100% relate to that experience. So at that time, I got on medication, things started to get better. I got through high school, got a full ride to my dream school for college, and went to college and thought everything was going to be fine. After my first year of college, I went to New York for an internship, and my mental health just spiraled again. And I think it was because of a change in my medication, that they had increased my medication for depression, which caused me to actually go into a depressed and manic state, because they didn't realize that I was bipolar and not just depressed. So I don't know. Let me know if you can relate, if you've experienced any of this this kind of journey with medication and what can happen because of it. And it, it's interesting because it's life-saving for me. But finding the right meds was a challenge. And I think that for a lot of people, medication is life-saving. It's not something that can be the only component of, mental health and mental care. I think you have to be willing to do the other work, the therapy, the personal inner work, not that you can fix your mental illness, not that you can fix depression. You can't fix it. It's something that we learn to manage over time, and it doesn't go away. And that's something that I think can be really discouraging. I don't know if you guys can relate to that at all, people who have mental illness, but one of the things that I really struggle with when I'm depressed is the fact that it feels so hopeless because I'll always feel this way. And obviously that's a distorted thought because I don't always feel that way. But when I feel that way, I have this feeling of, well, I'm never going to get better. So it's never going away. So maybe I should just die now. And that's like the truth of the thought that I have is, and it's not a thought I'm going to act on. I've learned to manage my mental health enough to where I know that I won't commit suicide. I feel very secure knowing that I'm not going to die. That I'm not going to be in a place where I would ever take that action, but it doesn't mean that I don't have those thoughts or feelings sometimes. And I think that's the difference is it doesn't mean we're in danger just because we have these thoughts and feelings sometimes. Like it doesn't mean that there's something totally broken or wrong with us. Like these are parts of struggling with mental health and struggling with living lives, as humans. Let me check up on the chat. Amy says, I would take meds for a while, feel better, and then stop them because I didn't think I needed them anymore, which really made me feel so much worse. Yep. That is so normal, such a normal cycle. You're like, oh, I'm better. I don't need my meds. Like, oh my God, I can so relate to that. And then stop taking them. And then it's like, oh shit, I was better because of the meds. Like, oops. Yeah, that's a hard one. It is. And like, sometimes you want to be better. You want to believe that this can go away, that you can heal from it. And some things I think you can, some things can improve over time, but it's not that simple. You know what I mean? Like, definitely not that simple. Sarah says, didn't start finding out anything about myself until I was 30. So I didn't have the medication journey when I was younger. Yeah. So what happened was my medication threw me into what they call a mixed state, which is when you are depressed and bipolar and manic. And so when that happens, kind of what they say is that you're depressed enough to want to kill yourself and manic enough to do something about it. So that it can be one of the most dangerous states. So that's what happened. And that I ended up going into this very confused, almost out of body experience / state. I also strangely, has anyone read The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath? Let me know if you have. I read it right at that time. And if you are having thoughts of suicide, that is a dangerous fucking book to read because if you know Sylvia Plath, you know that she committed suicide. And I could relate to her writing too much. It just made things worse. And so it just kind of was this perfect storm that threw me into this state. And that I took a bunch of pills again, because I thought that I didn't know what to do and I needed help again. And it was not, I think some suicide attempts are real death wishes, and some suicide attempts are cries for help. And some are both, or maybe there's overlap. It's all gray, but, and there's nothing good or bad about either one. It's just where you are. Obviously just an awful place to be for anyone. But I think what I did was really more of a cry for help. I don't think I've ever really wanted to successfully end my life. I think I just didn't know what the fuck to do. And it was like screaming for help. Katie says, I get the depression. I didn't ask for help because I didn't think there was anything that would make me feel better. Other people recognize my need for help. And I have read the bell jar. Yeah, it's really hard to ask for help. And sometimes we don't know what to ask for. I know sometimes when I'm depressed, like people close to me will ask me like, how can I help? And it's like, I don't even know. I don't know. And when I'm in that state, it also feels like nothing will help, So, but yeah, so I think these kind of experiences were the low points for me in mental illness. But the things that have gotten me to where I am now are medication, therapy, and learning how to manage my mental health. I wonder if any of you are managing your mental health and mental illness day to day. That's something that is a very real part of my life. Anyone with a chronic physical illness, it's the same idea. Like it's something that you manage. And for me, it's a very real part of my life experience. And I think it's important to talk about. I think it's important to put this stuff out there and help people feel less alone. Depression is very isolating. Mental illness can be very isolating. And a lot of times we isolate ourselves as well, in those spaces, in those really dark spaces, we isolate ourselves. And so I think it can be really challenging. And I think it's really important conversations to have. Really important conversations to have. So I think it's just, learning that we can have self-compassion, that there's nothing wrong with us, that it's not our fault, that we don't have to be ashamed of it. And then empowering ourselves to take it in our own hands, to manage it and to learn to live with it. So it's kind of what I wanted to share today. I hope that this was valuable, helpful, maybe resonates, maybe gave you something you need to hear. Stefan says, have you considered ECT for your depression? Not applicable. I haven't really considered it fully, but I'd be interested in learning more about it for sure. Is that something you have experience with at all? I'm curious if you have. I've never tried it, but I know that there's a lot of really progressive treatments and new treatments out there that, or treatments that are becoming more normalized and mainstream, that can really help. So I would definitely be curious about that. I tried ketamine assisted psychotherapy. Oh, my wife is the psychiatrist in family. Oh, cool. That's awesome. Well, cheers to your wife for being amazing. Oh, thank you, Amy. I also really appreciate your vulnerability and all of your content and everything you share. So, yeah, but I did try ketamine assisted psychotherapy a couple months ago, and I think I will probably do more of it. That was something that I thought was kind of maybe a new thing to try, that I think I need to do probably more reps of it for it to really take on a long-term level, or at least do some kind of maintenance on it. I know they do, some psychiatrists do like a maintenance schedule of those sessions. So that's something that I'm kind of exploring. But yeah, I would love to hear more about ECT as well if you know about it. So thank you guys so much for being here. I love each and every one of you. It means so much to me to have you here. So thank you for your support. Thank you for your honesty, your vulnerability, and all of the things. Don't forget to like this one on your way out. Yeah, psilocybin. How do you say it? Psilocybin? Yeah, that's an interesting one too. So it's definitely this something about psychedelics that might actually change something in our brain. You know, my psychiatrist compared it to like having a fresh snowfall on your brain, to where like those grooves from like the skis and the sleds and all that stuff like kind of get covered and you kind of get a fresh slate. So I thought that was really interesting. So thank you guys so much for watching. I love you all. One pill and done. No, it's an injection. So I did it with my therapist. And yeah, actually, feel free to DM me if you're curious about it, or if you have any resources on ECT, I would love to hear them. So if you guys don't follow me on social media, check out at Lily A. Newhouse on Instagram. I'm also on Facebook, and there's plenty of content on here on my YouTube channel for you guys to binge as well if you feel like that. So I love you all. Thank you so much.